The first splash of cold Coke hit Emma's face so hard that for a moment, the entire restaurant seemed to go silent. Dark soda dripped from her hair, ran down her cheeks, and soaked the collar of her white waitress uniform while three wealthy customers laughed as if humiliating her were the funniest thing that had happened all evening. Emma stood frozen beside their table, holding the empty glass in her trembling hand, trying desperately not to cry. She had spent the entire day working 2 shifts, had barely slept the night before, and had promised herself she would do anything necessary to keep this job. What she didn't know was that the man sitting quietly at a table across the restaurant had just witnessed everything, and he was about to change her life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one small act of compassion can change someone's entire life, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to spread kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach more people. Emma had learned early that life did not always reward good people. At 26, she was raising her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, alone after her husband had walked away years earlier. Every morning, Emma packed Lily's lunch, took her to school, and then rushed to the downtown restaurant where she worked. Her paycheck covered rent, groceries, school supplies, and the endless little emergencies that came with raising a child alone. There were nights when Emma quietly skipped dinner so Lily could have enough food the next morning, but she never allowed her daughter to see how worried she was. To Lily, her mother was the strongest person in the world. That evening, the restaurant was unusually crowded. A group of young business executives had arrived to celebrate a major company deal, and their expensive watches, designer clothes, and loud laughter made it obvious they were accustomed to getting whatever they wanted. Emma served them politely, even when they complained about tiny things that were completely outside her control. One of them mocked her accent. Another deliberately moved his glass to the edge of the table and blamed her when it nearly fell. Emma apologized each time because she needed the job more than she needed to defend her pride. Then one of the men demanded another Coke. Emma brought it within seconds, but when she placed it on the table, the man suddenly stood and knocked the glass toward her. The soda splashed across her face and uniform. His friends burst into laughter. Emma's hands began shaking as she realized everyone in the restaurant was watching. The manager rushed over, but instead of comforting Emma, he immediately worried about the customers and told her to stop making a scene. The humiliation hurt more than the cold soda. Emma lowered her eyes, fighting back tears, and quietly apologized to the other customers around her before turning toward the kitchen. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to run home, hold Lily, and forget the entire night. But she knew if she walked out, she might lose her job. What Emma didn't notice was the man sitting alone near the window. His name was Daniel Carter, a 43-year-old investor whose company had recently become the restaurant group's largest financial partner. He had entered the restaurant without announcing himself because he wanted to see how the business actually treated its employees when nobody important was watching. He had expected to observe food quality, service, and management. Instead, he had witnessed something much more important. Daniel watched Emma wipe her face with a small towel and return to work as if nothing had happened. He noticed that she still smiled at an elderly couple. He saw her carefully refill a child's water glass. He watched her help a struggling coworker carry a tray. Even after being humiliated, she never passed her pain to someone else. When Emma finally reached Daniel's table, she apologized for the delay. She had no idea who he was. Daniel simply looked at her with concern and asked if she was all right. Emma forced a smile and said she was fine. She wasn't. Her eyes were red, her hands were trembling, and a single tear escaped despite her efforts to hold it back. Daniel stood and walked toward the manager. Within minutes, the truth came out. The 3 customers were removed from the restaurant, and Daniel revealed his identity. The manager's face went pale when he realized the quiet man he had ignored was the company's biggest investor. But Daniel did something nobody expected. He did not scream. He did not threaten anyone. He simply asked why an employee had been humiliated in front of the entire restaurant and why management had cared more about wealthy customers than the person who had been serving them all night. The answer was silence. The next morning, Emma received a call asking her to come to the company's headquarters. Terrified, she assumed she was being fired. She arrived wearing her best clothes, borrowed from a coworker, and sat nervously outside Daniel's office. When he finally invited her inside, he told her that he had watched what happened the night before. He also told her that he had learned something about her that mattered more than the incident. He had discovered that Emma had been working 2 jobs while studying online for a business management certificate. She had dreams of someday opening a small cafe where every employee would be treated with dignity. She had never told anyone because she thought the dream was too far away. Daniel offered her a position in the company's customer experience department with better pay, health benefits, and a schedule that would allow her to spend evenings with Lily. Emma stared at him in disbelief. She thought there had to be some mistake. Then Daniel said something that made her heart stop. He told her that people often reveal who they truly are when they believe nobody important is watching. Emma had shown him that kindness was not weakness, even when the world gave her every reason to become bitter. Months passed, and Emma transformed from a struggling waitress into one of the company's most respected employees. She used her new income to provide Lily with the things she had once considered luxuries. She never forgot where she came from, though. She continued visiting the restaurant and checking on the workers who were still struggling. Daniel became a close friend of both Emma and Lily. He helped Emma develop her cafe plan, but he refused to take credit for it. He wanted her to know that she had earned her second chance herself. One rainy evening, Emma was standing outside the restaurant after finishing work when Daniel walked toward her. Lily was waiting nearby with an umbrella. Daniel smiled, looked at Emma, and gently called her "my love." Emma froze, surprised by the words, while Lily smiled knowingly. Daniel explained that he had not fallen for Emma because she was beautiful, hardworking, or resilient, although she was all 3. He had fallen in love with the way she remained kind after the world had treated her cruelly. He loved the woman who could have become bitter but chose compassion instead. Emma's eyes filled with tears. For years, she had believed that surviving was the best she could hope for. Now, standing under the rain with her daughter beside her, she realized she was finally living instead of merely surviving. A year later, Emma opened her own cafe. Above the entrance was a simple sign that read, "Everyone deserves respect." The first people she hired were workers who had struggled to find opportunities elsewhere. She paid them fairly, listened to them, and made sure nobody was ever humiliated for making an honest mistake. And on opening day, Daniel stood beside her, holding Lily's hand as the 3 of them watched customers enter. Emma looked across the crowded cafe and remembered the cold Coke running down her face that terrible night. What once felt like the most humiliating moment of her life had become the moment that redirected her entire future. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe to spread kindness. Sometimes, your simple support can help a powerful message reach someone who desperately needs to hear it. Before we reach the ending, comment "Kindness always wins" if you believe that how we treat people matters more than money, status, or power. Emma eventually understood something she would never forget: the people who humiliated you may remember the moment for a few minutes, but the person who chooses kindness in that moment can change the course of a lifetime. The Coke washed away. The embarrassment faded. The cruel laughter disappeared. But the kindness that followed remained forever. And sometimes, the person you think has been broken by life is actually standing at the beginning of the most beautiful chapter of their story.